we are going to start to create the system for getting random items, okay? Probably most of you already know it, but just in case, let me do a quick review, a quick explanation about how the random items work, okay? Random items means in most of the card games and the racing games are going to be the items that allows you to actually get some advantage over other players. You are going to pick some crates, and from the crates you are going to receive the items. As an example, in another games you can pick the items directly from the road. In this map, as I wanted the players to have only 2 items per lap, I just programmed the items to give it to player just in the middle, that means the second checkpoint and the end. So as soon as I just cross this line, you are going to hear a sound and you are going to get an item right here, okay? You can have different items, and each time that you pass, you also can get like different amount of items. That means, as an example, right now I receive only 1 charge from the gravity mine, but there are some items that can get more than 1. And yeah, so as you see in the example, if I cross again the red line, I'm going to get a new item. Pretty simple, okay? So we have 2 different systems. We are going to group the areas where the players can pass through and get the item. With that, we are going to assure that we are going to reduce the speed at max as possible, okay? So for doing this, my personal recommendation will be that we are going to place all the crates, all the different crates, in just one point, okay? So let me show you an example here very quickly. So just imagine that you create your block, okay? That you already create your block. Right here, I'm going to use a model that I already have from here, but remember that you have to create your own. All right, so now I will be able to teach you a little bit better, okay? So instead of placing the crates like this, that is going to be one in some point and one in other, that is going to look great, we are going to do the next thing. We are going to place one on here, like not the one, let's put 4 of them on here. And this is going to be just a dummy, okay? What we are really going to do is that we are going to cover all this with an area, just like we did on here. And when the player passes through it, it's going to receive the item, okay? So, what we are going to do? First, we are going to understand something important in scripting to do this system, that is going to be the Lua tables. And what is a Lua table? So it's like placing variables inside another variable. Remember the example that we placed before to understanding variables? We define that the variable is going to be the container that can have any value on it. As an example, it can have milk, water, or anything else, okay? So in this example, as always, the name of the variable is going to be glass and the content of the value is going to be milk. With a variable, you can have as many containers as you have. So instead of having just one glass, the array is going to be where you store the glasses. So it can be a box with a lot of glasses, or as an example, where you actually place the glasses after you clean the glasses and drink the milk. And the most important thing of this is that you can have different values for each one of the variables inside the array, okay? So as an example, in just one array, you can have one variable that has milk, one variable that has orange juice, ones that have Coke, one that has, I don't know, poison, water, and whatever you want. As an example, you can create a database. In the database, you say that the player is going to have a name, that the player is going to have a skin, that the player is going to have some coins, and it's going to have also a color. And you can change any of the variables just by calling one variable, okay? Very important, not only can have like different values, also can have different containers. As an example, the first value of the array can be a boolean, the second one can be a string, the third one can be a creature, the fourth one can be a number, the last one could be a timer, and at some point you can have also a location. And that's how we are going to create actually our random item system, okay? So you are going to open the link. Remember that the link is in the YouTube description. So right now you're supposed to see my screen. So what we are going to do, it's pretty simple. With the link that I sent in the chat, you are going to open directly that. But if you hit the link that is in this description, what I need you to do is to, in this screen that you are going to open, you are going to search on this specific part of the screen for the one that says random item. You are going to click on the name, and when you click on the name, you are going to have all this text. So you be sure that you copy all of them just by clicking copy and paste also in your cell phones. And then what you're going to do is to move to MiniWord, okay? You are going to select again developer tools. You're going to select in this section the scripts. You are going to hit a new one. You are going to delete all the information on it. And what you are going to do is that you are going to create a new script. We are going to see this inside MiniWord as soon as we open it. Of course, you are not going to have this interface. You are going to have the MiniWord one. So this is the part that is highlighted right now. It's the part that we are going to mess with. Okay, I'm going to increase the size a little bit so you will be able to see it. So where it says item table, and that's it. You don't need to modify anything else, but just for you to let you know what, and for you to understand what this script does. This script is divided in 3 different things. The first one is going to be the core, that is going to be named random item core, and what it's going to do is to do all the process to give the players random items. As you see, you don't need that much amount of lines or coding. The second one is just a simple shortcut that I use to give the players and disable the players to drop or to throw the item, okay? And the third one is just a shortcut to use a sound. This sound is going to be a random sound, or I mean not like it's going to get any different sound every time. It's more like the pitch is going to be different, so the player is going to not get bored if the player hears the same sound, because it's going to have some small difference, but it's going to be the same sound, okay? So in Lua, to create an array or a table that has the Lua calls the arrays, you need to do this. You need to set up the name of the variable. You need to use the symbol equals, and you need to use this specific square or the normal breaks, okay? What it's going to tell the system is to create an array. It's going to tell that this variable is going to be an array. And then you can start assigning some values. So as an example, name number 1 is going to have a value of, here is my name. Okay? So name number 2 is going to have a value that is going to say, I don't know, a number. Let's place 100. And like that. So remember, first you need to create the variable and then you assign the values inside it. And we can do with this. Let me show you. Pues as an example, you can say that you can have a random item. So as an example, you say local r, it's equals to mat random item, random, let's just say it random. And between the parentheses, you have to say how much is going to be the value. So 1, 2, number 2. This is going to give or to set up the variable for r as a random number, okay? And later, what you can do is you can place the r on here. So that means that any random value that gets on here, it's going to be set up as a name random value and this specific situation. So with this, we create an easy random item system. You are not going to find everything like I showed you before. You are going to find only this. And what it's going to have is pretty simple. First one is the creation for the variable that creates the random items, then the random charges and the item number, okay? So once you access to MiniWord, the first thing that you have to do is to change this first value, okay? So once again, on here, we are going to select the item that is going to start the process, okay? So from ID library, you are going to select item. You're going to get a full list of items. In customs, select the one that is going to give you these random items, okay? So let's start by there. I'm going to create the item. We are going to use the plugin editor. We are going to select props and we are going to add a simple. We are going to select mix and on here select random item. Place an icon for it because players are going to be able to see this just by 1 second. It can be a crate, as we are using a crate. For attributes, select 99. With that, we are going to be sure that if the player receives more of one, it's going to have that item working, okay? So on here, select the newest item skill. You are not going to hit anything. You are going to save. We are going to get on here. We are going to add random item. What we are going to do. So the item that we just create is going to have an ID, a number. That's how it works actually. That's the same that the script does and the trigger does. The trigger is going to do the same, so it's just going to be converted. So as you see here, the ID for that item, and you can also see the ID by just placing the mouse over it, is 4098. Okay, so that's what we are going to place here. And now we are going to start to give some random items to the player, okay? So as an example, the first item is going to be the optical claw item that we create before, the item that allows you to be invisible. It's going to be this one. And the amount of charges, we are going to give random charges. We are going to give random charges between 1 and 3. So what does it mean? That the player can get at max 3 from each box, okay? Now we are going to add the second item. As you see, I only copy and paste the options before. First, I changed to the number 2 on this square, as I showed you before. Here I changed the item, and the second item is going to be a banana. So we place a banana on it, okay? Let's move and let's continue. We are going to create 5 items just to show you how fast and easy it is to do it. For the third one, we are going to give the player, let's do, I don't know, let's give the player just some water, and the amount of charges for the previous one is going to be 1. For this one is going to be 1 again, okay? Now we are going to add another item. For this, you only have to copy and paste once again. Change, now it's the next number, so it's going to be number 4. The item ID, once again, hit on item ID, select the item, and just remember that I'm placing random items because we didn't create any item yet for this map, more than the optical cloak. Vary in your map, you can place the items that you create. As some players show me that they create some rockets, some bananas to shoot the floor, some jumping skills, so you have to put those items here. We are going to select again the last item. It could be anything. It can be this one. And we are going to place, let's give like in between 1 to 20 random items to the player. Okay, so we already have our random item set up. Now we have to run this, okay? So what we are going to do on here is that when the player passes just through this part, is going to get a random item, okay? For this, once again, select F3 tool. We are going to add a new area. For selecting the area, remember to group up the areas, okay? It's very important. So we are going to add the area here, and if the player jumps, as we only want to give the item to the player when he's at the same health of the crates, we are going to just be at the same health, okay? Not like this, because with this is going to be under the floor, just like this. So you are going to see a line from side to side. And yeah, we almost got it. So we left only to create some triggers or script if you prefer. So for giving this with triggers, the only thing that you need to do is to create a new trigger set that is going to be named as items, just for you to have some guide. In the items section, we are going to create a new trigger that is going to be the trigger number 1. Okay, you are going to change it again, so we are going to place here random items. For the event, we are going to select player enters to area. So we are going to select here, we are going to choose the area, and we are going to choose items 1. Once you finish on that, we are going to add the simple item. Okay, so to add the item, we are going to choose player. We are going to hit on here, add item. We are going to select which kind of item, on template library. we are going to select the item that we create for detect random items. That is going to be this one, okay? Random item. And yeah, now we are going to test, okay? As you see here, I received the items that we just set up. So remember that the second item was a banana and the last one was this is a strange candy one. And probably you're not going to be able to see it, but because we are in full screen, but it's also making the sound, the random sound, okay? As you see this time, it gives me like 3 different times the same item that is going to be the invisibility item. So we are going to do a quick trigger for it. We are going to use random items, but we are going to create a new one that is going to be named as a random items, but trigger, okay? And what you do is just the same thing. When you pass or you get into the actual area, once again, when the player enters to the area, that is going to be the same. Okay, when you are in this area, what you're going to do is to give the player or to run here a variable, okay? So you create a variable, it's going to be a player private, it's going to be random item or random item. Remember that this is the same system that I did with the scripts, but making it by triggers, okay? So you don't have to copy this part if you're going to use the script one. I personally recommend the script one because it's very easy to change and you can just change it very quickly if you need to do some adjustments. On here, choose value, choose the name, it's going to be random item. The initial value is going to be 0. And what you're going to do is, when the player enters the area, we are going to assign a value. On here, choose assign on the right, on the left side. We are going to choose a value. We are going to choose the variable that we just create. To be able to select like a private variable, you need to choose function, you need to choose player and player's private variable, okay? In player's private variable, you are going to select the name of the variable. It's going to be random item. And we are going to select in the number 0 as a random value. And for this, we need to choose functions on math. You are going to have this one that says random number, and you can choose the number. So if in this example I'm going to do 2 options, but remember that that's going to depend on how many options did you have. And right after that, what we are going to do is to create a couple of triggers more. So the first one is going to be called option 1. The second one is going to be named as a option 2. And what we are going to do, we are going to add a condition to each one, asking the system if the player private value, or the private value of this variable. For this, we need to choose numerical, and we are going to choose function player private variable, and we are going to select the variable that is going to be random item is equals to the option 1. Remember that we only are going to have 2 options. Then give to the player a specific item, okay? That is going to be item number 1, that is going to be the optical cloak, okay? And the second one is going to have just the same conditions and the same execution. The difference is that it's going to give the player a different item. So as you see here, we have to do a lot more than effort to be able to do the system. We need to use more time just to provide a couple of options. So that's why I recommended to use the first one, because it's going to be more efficient and you are going to save a lot of time, and it's going to be much simpler to modify, okay? So I'm going to give to the player, let's say a banana again, but this time a golden banana. And yeah, so we go back to the first trigger, and what we do is to add two actions, okay? The first one is going to be to execute a trigger. For this, you are going to have it just like here, I think, yeah. It's going to be operate a trigger, okay? And if the trigger that is going to be this one, option 1. Check the conditions, need to be on true. So choose options and set true. So if the option 1 is true, run the action. And also we just copy this and we need to add another one for the 2. Okay, so if trigger option 2, it's true, then execute the action. And yeah, that's it. We are going to just play the game. All right, now let me show you. As you see, we are receiving random item. So if you want to go in deeper and understanding a little bit better the arrays or the tables, just remember to use your best friend, that is going to be Google, okay? All right, as you see, there is a lot of documentations and a lot of tricks that you can do. Also, you can search for some courses. There are a lot of free courses on YouTube. So, important things, guys. When you actually play the normal game, after some laps, you will be able to win. With the systems that we said before, we can do all the laps, but it's not happening anything. It's just counting the laps, but it's not actually allowed you to win because we didn't set up that yet. First one, remember that we need to make the player know how many laps is going to complete, okay? So check this. We are going to select triggers, and what we are going to do as we are going to complete this checkpoint system, we are going to set up variables, okay? So just to do a quick recap, in the previous class about laps, we set up this variable that is going to be player laps. It's going to count how many laps the player is going to win. Now we are going to create a new value variable, okay? This one is going to be named, and we are going to set up a value too, and we are going to name it as a max or laps max. The amount, we are going to give a default amount, okay? And very important, guys, on here, choose how many laps the players need to complete to win the game, okay? In my personal recommendation, my personal situation, as this is a tutorial, I'm just going to use 3. Personally, I prefer to do it like 10 laps because the players are going to have more laps to interact and fight each other. So what we need to do, okay? We need to do, it's just in the trigger that counts when the players complete the lap, we are going to add a new variable, and what it's going to do is actually check if the player already completes the lap, okay? So how we are going to do that, okay? It's just as simple as I showed you before. We need to create on here a comparison, but remember that we cannot check conditions directly on here. We need to create a new trigger, okay? So the new trigger is going to count if the player already wins. So what do we need to do? We need to create a new trigger. The new trigger is going to have a condition. The condition is going to compare with numerical calculation if the amount of player laps that the player completes is equal or greater than the actual max amount of laps, okay? So first select the center. In the center you can choose the condition, and we are going to set greater than or equal than. The first one is going to be in value, the amount of laps that the player had. For this, choose function library. We need to choose the player private variable. So we need to hit player and player's private variable. We are going to choose the lap variable that we created in the previous one, that is player laps. And we are going to say if the player private variable's amount of laps is greater than max laps, that is actually the variable that we just create, that you can select it directly here. That's going to be the condition. And what we are going to do now is start executing the scripts to make the player win, okay? So think a little bit, what do you think is going to be the variable or the execution for this? Let me give you some seconds to think about it, okay? All right, so yeah, it's very simple. If the player gets more than the laps, we are going to make the player win. But we are going to do a couple of extra things. First, we are going to make the player know that he wins the race, and also the other players. For this, just in game, we are going to select display information, create a just information in the chat. So for this, we have some specific, let me think, I think it's this one. Yeah, player group. So we are going to display a chat info for all the players. We are going to select as player set and function that says all players. That will actually send the message to all the players. And very important, on character, we need to connect some screen. So how you can connect the strings or the text, you need to choose function, and you have the first option that says string concatenation, okay? You select it and it will allow you to place two different like text. The first one is going to be the nickname of the player. So as an example here, we are going to use function. We are going to select player and player name. With that, the system is going to get automatically the nickname. Now we are going to tell the players that the players finished the race. So for this input, give a space. Remember, it's very important because if not, it's going to just be directly next to the name of the player. So we need to have a space between them. And you are going to tell something like player or wants their race. Okay? So we are going to set it up in green so player will be able to be seen. Now we are going to just let the player know that he wins the race. For this, just select player and display text to the player. That's going to create a small screen and it's going to show the player that he wins. Once again, so just hit whatever message that you want to give. I'm going to just say you win the race. Okay. And then we are going to make a sound. Remember that it's very important to make the feedback with sound, effects, and text. The players is going to hear the sound and also the other players, so they are going to know that someone wants the game. They are going to get the text in case that they didn't hear the sound, and also they are going to have a cool effect. So with that, for sure they are going to know that they won. So for sound, just scroll down on this section and select sound effect. We are going to turn on effect on a player. For this is going to be here. And we are going to just play the sound, okay? So we are going to select the sound. Once again, in the template library, you can choose whatever you want. Most of them are going to be the one that provides you notifications. So try to select a good one as someone that is able to be noticed. Also remember that others give you some feedback about the game. So like an example, 16 is the sound when you win the game. In my case, I'm going to select 12. That is going to play the legendary option. We are going, as this is going to be the last sound, it's going to be a big sound, so we are going to make it in 200s. And then for the loop, you are going to say cancel. So we already have the text, the chat, also the sound. Now we are going to create effect very quickly. The special effect is going to be play a special effect in position. Just select once again the type of effect. In my case, I like to do something that is going to be able to be seen by the player and that is going to look like something that he wins. You can use, as an example, fireworks. My personal recommendation is doing something simpler like this one, because the fireworks actually are going to create a little bit of lag, okay? So I'm going to choose this one at the event position. That is actually going to be when the player wants. In size, you can choose whatever you want. As this is going to be notorious, I'm going to choose 1.5. Remember that, once again, it's up to you. You can select any value. And then we are going to actually make the player one. So for make the player one, we are going to just wait. For this, you have an option here that says waiting time. That is going to stop all this trigger for some seconds. And right after that is going to start the process. Okay, so let's wait 15 seconds. Okay, for tutorial, we are going to choose only 10. And then we are going to add the option that says allow player to win. So that's going to make the player win. And now that we have this trigger, we are going to rename it as a win. Okay, so now that you have win on here, we need to execute that trigger as soon as the player completes the lap, okay? And how you're going to do that? You're going to select this. We are going to select trigger, operate trigger once more. We are going to select the trigger. Remember the trigger is just here in win, and we need to actually check the conditions. So you are going to choose in the options true. That true means that it's going to check the conditions. If the conditions are true, it's going to run the trigger. Now we already have the first quick look about how to finish the racing. Okay, let me show very quickly. So right now we are in the first lap. We receive our rating. We continue. We pass through all the checkpoints. We have some turbo. We renew the first lap. We have the second one, so we are going to pass, and we have the second lap. And as you see, I got the sound, I got the effects, I got the text, and around 10 seconds is going to end the game. Okay? All right, so that's how you finish them up. So right now, as you see, I received a mention that says you are already finished the lap, but the player is not actually going to know how many laps the player has. So select once again the starting point section, okay? The one that measures that the player completes the lap. On here, remember that before we add two different strings. The first one that shows in the chat that the player completes the first lap, and the second one that shows in the actual text that the player completes some laps. So we are going to use just the same, okay? For this, what we are going to see is that the text is going to be also connected, okay? So once more, we are going to do the trick that I just showed you. We are going to choose string concatenation. We are going to choose first the name of the player. Once again, we have to choose here player name. On here, we are going to also do another concatenation, okay? Why? Because we need to place more information. We need to place first the amount of laps. For this, we need to take a variable, and then in which lap is it, okay? So we are going to select again here, string concatenation, and we are going to have two options more. So the first one is going to be the text that we are going to place, and it's going to be has completed lap number space. And on here, we are going to add the actual lap. How we are going to do that? Remember that the variables, as I showed you before, cannot be mixed. That means that we cannot place a number with a text. We need to transform it first. So for transform a variable, we are going to use function library. We are going to use the second one that says convert value to a string. That means to convert a number in a string, okay? All right, so check this. We are going to input. Once again, out here we have the global variables. We need to use a private variable. For this, we are going to choose player's private variable. And on this, we are going to select the name of the variable that is going to be right here, player labs, okay? Now, if I just go to the play mode, we have to just get on here. And as you see, it's telling me right at the right side that we complete the lap number 3. All right, so if I pass or cross again the main line, it's going to tell me in which lap the player is right now. Okay, so check this. Lap number 3. And once again, the number 3, and it's telling me that I won. And now we have the first one. We need to do the same for the information here. But before, let me show you something that is going to be much greater than that, okay? We already have this, all right? What we are going to do is that we are not only going to give the player the information about how many laps the player completes, also about the max. And with that, we are going to have all the perfect system, okay? So for doing this, instead of playing, we are going to remove that, and we are going to choose string concatenation. First one is going to be the lap. So we are going to give in the previous value the color. For this, remember that with the pound icon or the hashtag icon and the number green or the letter G is going to tell the system that it's going to be in color green. We are going to do just the same thing that we did before. Select a player value sorry, we need to first transform this value, then select the player value that is going to be in function library, player, private variable. We are going to choose a private variable, player labs, and we are going to do another concatenation. In the first one, we are only going to place the color and we are going to divide it. So we are going to choose, again, the pound to give the color, the letter R to get in red color, a slash to make the player know that he's dividing, some spaces, and now in character screen, we are going to convert another value. This time is going to be the total amount of laps. For this, just select max laps, okay? A couple of extra information. Okay, so as you see, it's going to show me the lap that I currently in and the how many laps I left, okay? For the text, you can do the same. The second text that is going to be the floating screen that shows the player that he completes a lap. And yeah, with that, we are going to have the first three. So something that is going to be even better is going to have a small screen that will show you all the time over here in the top, that will show you right here how many times the player has been complete and which lap is it. We already have this one. We are going to create a new variable here. It's going to be a private variable. The class for this variable is going to be timer. Timer is something that makes a count to, it's like a clock. In the timer, we are going to choose lap time, okay? And also let's play player at the beginning, so we are going to know that is the player time lap. We cannot choose a default value, and we are going to see the variable right here. So what we are going to do, at the beginning of the game, we are going to give the player like this lap, and also per round we are going to renew this lap, okay? So with that, the player is going to know how many times he actually has to complete the lap, and it's going to be extra information, okay? So this trigger set is going to be called as a game start, okay? And that's how we are going to start the game. So the first thing that we are going to do is to create some basic variables for the players when they enter to the game, okay? So the first one is going to be the event player when the player enters the game. So we need to choose here. So player enters game. We are going to select to create a new variable. So we are going to assign a value. Actually, truly sorry, it's not going to be a value. It's going to be assigned, but this time we are going to choose an actual timer, okay? So where is the timer? I think it's having a different value. Okay, yeah. So we have to start a timer. So just hit run a timer, okay? And the timer is going to be the name that we just created. So for this, we don't have variables here because it's not a global variable, it's just a private. We need to select this one that is going to be a private variable. And here we are going to choose the variable that we just create, okay? That's going to start at this specific window. And what we are going to do is that each time that the player passed through us this point, we are going to renew that, okay? So at the end of this, we are going to add a new one that is going to be the showing for this variable. So we are going to stop that timer, the timer that we just created. Remember, once again, we are going to select function in the timer, private variable, and the name of the variable that is going to be player lap, okay? Now we are going to start or restart this timer. For this, we are going to set rundown countdown timer. No, we are going to use run timer. What is going to be the difference? This is a countdown. That means that it's going to start in the number that you are going to provide, and it's going to come into 0 at the end. And this one, of course, is going to stack the amount of time, okay? So we are going to hit run timer. On the timer, we are going to select again function player, and it's going to allow you to select the player one. And finally, a third one is going to show the player the timer, because right now the timer is invisible for the player. So we are going to select here, display the panel. We are going to select once again the timer, just do the same that we did before, select by selecting the player lap time in private variables. As player set, we need to convert the player. So we are going to select all players in team. We are going to select the team of the player. So options, we are going to use function, sorry, and player's team, the player that is actually in the trigger event. And the title is going to be, again, we are going to use string concatenation, and we are going to select lap as first. We are going to select lap space. Again, we are going to choose a string concatenation. In the middle, we are going to select the actual lap of the player. So once again, we need to select player private variable. And also you need to transform this. So instead of that, select first convert to value, then function, then player private variable. We are going to select the variable that is going to be the player laps. Remember that the player's laps measures how many laps the player does. And finally, we are going to select time with an space. So we are going to have a space between the two of them. We are going to use the 2 points, and we are going to give also some specific space after that. And yeah, now we are going to close everything, and let me show how it works. Okay, as you see in the top, right now it's going to tell you how many laps did you complete, the time that you're expending before completing this lap. So with this, the players are going to have more challenging options here, okay?
So as you see, it's taking me some time to complete the lap.
Yeah, once again, the time renews, okay? Also, I'm not going to teach you that, but remember that you can add just a text here that tells the other players how many time the player takes to complete the lap, okay? Now, we left an important thing, that is how we can start the game. What will be important on this one? First, we are going to set up a time for the players to shop. That means that the players will be able to have enough time to get your items and before the map starts here by creating a new variable. The variable is going to be a global variable, okay? And the name is going to be a time to buy, okay? So it's going to be not a timer. We are going to select just a value. And the value, it's going to be time to buy, okay? So on here, we are going to give in an initial value to the variable. In my case, as an example, we are going to choose again 15. Very important, if you are using the turbo system, and also for this, please select this one that says game running, okay? And what is going to game running is just going to tell the system that you already started the race. So if you don't have this variable, please create it too, because we are going to need it. There is going to be a valuable variable, a value variable, sorry. And it's going to have the name, remember, with just one n, and the default value is going to be 0. For this, we are going to just create it in game start. The name of the trigger is going to be game start 1. Okay, or let's say game ini. So you're going to know that it's the initial trigger. We are going to select an event, and we are going to select in game logic game starts. So game is created. Okay. First, we are going to create a timer. Okay. For this, once again, we are going to select timer, round down a timer. Okay. On here, we are going to just do a countdown one, not the other one. And the timer is going to be the timer, a new timer, okay? So create another variable, the time to buy. Apart from that, we are going to create another global that is going to be the actual timer. The timer is going to be called shopped timer. We are going to create it, and with that, you are going to have also this variable, okay? So on the new trigger that we create, we are going to select the timer that we are going to start. The timer is going to be shop timer. The countdown, you're going to select the variable that we create before, that is the time to buy. And we are going to choose false in repeat. Okay, so we are going to start that variable. Also, we are going to show to the players, to all of them, that that variable is working. So select on here, displayed the timer panel. On here, we are going to choose the timer, that is going to be the shop. For players, we are going to use function, and we are going to choose player group and all players. Character screen is going to be on green. Time to shop. And remember that if you use pound and the letter N in lowercase, is going to actually stop the color. Okay, so the first part is going to be in green and the last letter is going to be just in white. So with this, we already create the timer and we are showing to the players that actually they will be able to have some time to start the game. The option, we are going to communicate the players by just displaying a player group in the chat that they are going to have some time to actually get the item. Okay, so remember that it needs to be shown to all the players, and the character screen is going to be very simple. Just hit you have 15 seconds to get items. Okay, and very important here, guys, you can just do the concatenation technique that I showed you before to show exactly how many time left. For now, we are going to just keep it on there, and the players are also going to know that they have some time to start. We are going to set up some initial values to the player. Now we are going to create a new script, okay? A new trigger, sorry. The trigger is going to be players start or game start, and it's going to be executed as soon as this specific timer is going to end. So for this, select event. On here, you are going to have some options, okay? In the timer, okay, it's this one. Okay, timer changes. You're going to delete the first one. The condition is you're going to select here on math, numerical comparison. On options, let's choose for it. Okay, there is timer change. Now, yeah, it's the timer. So we are going to select the timer that is going to be the global timer is equals to, and in equals to, we are going to say equals or less, okay? Just in case. And the number is going to be 0. That means that there's no more time to wait. And what we are going to execute on here, it's going to be the actual system, okay? So when this happens, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to teleport the players to the initial point, okay? So right now we don't have an initial point. Of course, you can have a lot of systems, but the more simple is going to be to create an area right here, and the players are going to be teleported to any part of this area, okay? So how we are going to do that? It's just simpler. What we are going to do is to create an area. So once again, select the tool mode. We are going to select an area that is not right in the floor. We are going to choose at least 1 or 2 blocks over it. And remember that it needs to be just in the initial area. Remember that we place these specific parts at the sides to avoid players to get out from the road. So select here as an example and select this area, okay? You can select a couple of hails on it. And remember to rename it once again to don't get confused. We are going to select any area or spawn start. Okay. All right. So we already have this one that will allow the player to be teleported here. So what do we need to do now? We need to make all the players to get teleported here. Okay. So if you notice here, we have some options to teleport one player that is going to be change location. But as we need to execute this on all the players, we need to do a special script and repeat it for each player, okay? So for this, we are going to create a new script again. On the same sections, we are going to select player start, and this is going to be executed on all the players. So the first one is going to be actually to move the location, okay? So what is going to be is to change just here the location. We are going to change the location. As we are going to have random location inside that area, we are going to choose function. On function, you have two different options. Central location of the area, that is going to transform an area into a location. And the second one, that is going to be a random location. That means that it's going to be any part or any position inside this area. And we are going to choose just the area. Okay, the area is going to be a start point, okay? That's the first thing. What other thing we are going to do to the players? We need to set the starting point as also the respawn point. So if the players just fall down, they are not going to be returning to the store. They are going to return to the initial point instead, okay? For this, select player, and on here you have an option that says change player spawn point or set a spawn point, and it's going to be this one, okay? So select that one, and we are going to choose a spawn point, okay? A location. So remember that we created in the previous class the different areas for the checkpoints, and before the area we also check or choose a spawn point. So the first one is going to be spawn point number 0. And yeah, check this. Now we have the number 0 right here. Now, we already have the initial point, the initial spawn point. What other thing is going to be important, okay? So we are going to just make the player face the right location. So remember that right now the players can expound facing any part, and it's going to be confusing because if they are facing downwards or just backwards, they are going to start racing on the other side. So we don't want that. For this, we have another one that is player, and we have to change the facing angle, and we need to test with this, okay? So we have 4 points. One of them is going to be east, south, west, and north, that are going to be the horizontal way. And also we have up and downwards. We need to experiment. I'm not sure how to get each one, so let's start with east for now. So those are going to be the options that we are going to select for the player at the beginning, okay? So what we are going to do, on here we are going to start executing this trigger, the trigger that works for all the players, okay? So what we are going to do for this, we are just going to add a new operate trigger, truly sorry. Okay, now this one is going to be under this, okay? So in player group, you have an option that says operate a trigger on a player set. That's going to execute this trigger on each player, okay? We are going to select which trigger, and we are going to select the trigger that we just create in game start, that is going to be player start. This player set is going to be in function, and it's going to be all the players. And what we need to do? We need to check the conditions, of course, so we are going to say true, and that's it. With this, we are going to make all the players teleport to the area and start the game. There is a problem right here, and it's that the players can be stuck on there, okay? So the easy solution, and the one I actually don't love it, but it's the most effective that I find, and is the most attractive one, because with this you don't have to do that much work, and players are not going to be able to exit from the map for saying like that. So the most easy that I found is to create a kind of obstacle here.
And then we're going to keep to one, okay? That was the best way to avoid players to exit, to create just like kind of a stair here, so players won't be able to jump over it, and they will be able to cross only by this side, okay? You can place some sticky notes to also show the players that they won't be able to pass.
Solution, okay? So with this, players are not going to be able to pass on here, and they are going to know that right here they can cross. The other solution is to place temporal like blocks on here that are semi-translucent like this one, and that doesn't allow the player to move until the game starts, and also right here on the game start. I used to do that for my map. The problem is more related with actually mini-world, and is that we can remove those specific blocks by triggers, but if your map got selected for a public room, that's not going to work. In public rooms, for some reason, sometimes removing the blocks works and sometimes no. So most of the times the players are going to be just stuck in this area, as these blocks are not going to be removed by the system, by the triggers, by a book directly, so that's not the best solution. So I found this alternate solution. I know this is not the best looking one, but it's going to be the more effective. Just change here to the number 1, and just change here that is only going to execute it if it's equal to the number 1. Crossing the fingers again, guys. So if you're able to if you want to interact, let's do a Henki Dama for both of you that, or all of you that see Dragon Ball. So just raise the hands and let's see. Okay, so this time it's only executing 1 time, but I'm just checking to the wrong side. So it's actually going to be the north, just the last adjustment, and it's going to be that this one is going to be facing north instead of south, okay? We need to define now how we can make the players stay on their position until we move the pliers away. So we're going to use the stun system, okay? So for the stun system, what we are going to do is just be sure that we have the stun system. If you don't have it, let me create it right here for you. So remember, we are going to just go on here and we are going to create a new one. We are going to create from 0, from scratch. No, let's, instead of creating by scratch, you can choose your own, but yeah, let's say that we are going to create it from scratch just to show you all the process, okay? So you create a new status. The status is going to be named as a stun or as a waiting. Okay, you can select any icon that you want it. Remember that red most of the times means that it's going to be a bad one. You can select stun or lock. It's not necessary to choose any effect, but as an example, and just to be quick, I'm going to select one of those. I'm going to select those starts, turning around. And now, for the effect, you have to change the speed. For this, just add an effect right here. The effect is going to be change moving speed. Remember that miniword has different speeds, so you are going to choose -100 in basic speed. Once again, you are going to add another speed. You are going to change it to running speed -100. That means that it's not going to be able to move. And once more, you are going to select another that is going to be the sneaking. Okay, you are going to add the swimming speed only if you have some water in the map. Okay, so save it on here. Choose. All right, so it needs to be on positive, on covered, and the other doesn't matter. Okay, now just check if you have the buff. Enter to the game again to be able to see it. All right, so we are just in this part again, once more. Okay, remember that we add this last part, so we are going to add now this buff to the pliers. So for this, just choose add an status. It's obtain effect. When you obtain the effect, we are going to select the effect that we just create. It's going to be in custom and it's going to be lock. We are going to choose remain false, and the seconds we are going to choose, let's say 5 seconds, okay? With this, we are going to give 5 seconds to start the game. And right now, if I play the game, it's going to give me 14 seconds or 15 seconds to just get the items, to get everything from the shop. Right after that, we are going to be teleported. Right now, we're supposed to see, to the right point. I won't be able to move for 5 seconds, as you see, and after the 5 seconds, I will be able to start their racing, okay? So with this, we are going to be sure that we get enough time to the players to load some parts, because remember that mini work is going to work by loading some parts of the map, and the first player is going to charge everything as soon as the player got the movement, but the other players are going to take a little bit to load all the system. So, and how it's going to be the sound, okay? The sound is going to be just, by let the player know that the time is going to be counted. Also, we are going to show the player some specific text on the front, as I showed you in my previous event, okay? For doing this, what we need to do is to move again to player start. on there, you are going to add a new one. We are going to first select the option that says display text to player. So we are going to do this. We are going to count ready, 3, 2, 1, and then go. Okay? So we are going to have a text and a sound for ready, a text and a sound for the other numbers, and the go. Okay? So the first one is going to be ready. So we are going to show the player a character. The character is going to be in color green. It's going to be, and uppercase is going to be ready. Also, as we want it to be this a little bit more dramatic, more exclamation kind, we're going to make it blinking. So for make a text blink, you only need to use this tag before the text. Okay, it's not this one, it's this one actually. Remember, it's going to be lowercase b because uppercase B is going to be for color blue. And as you see here, we have the result. We are going to tell the players ready. We are going to also display the text for all the team. So we are going to select here all players. The character screen is going to be green on B, and it's going to be ready to start. And yeah, we have right here. So if I just start the game with this one, it's going to show only one, but let me show you. Okay, I'm here. You're going to wait the 14 seconds of the time to shop. Remember that you are going to have also more time. The amount of time that I recommend is 1 minute, just to give enough players for the players to take some decisions. And yeah, we start here, and it's going to tell you ready to start. Okay. All right. So something that I forgot also is that as you see here on the top, it's telling me the time to stop or to shop. We are going to hide that also, okay? So let me just adjust that very quickly. So as soon as the time the game starts equals to 0, we are also going to hide that text, okay? For hiding the timer, you only hit on here. We select which timer, that is going to be the shop timer. And on functions, we are going to choose to all players. And that's it with that. That's not going to just mess with us. On here, I also going to add a new one that is going to be to show this the initial lap, okay? So remember that we left that part. So for this, we are going to display timer panel or just like a stop timer first. We're going to select the timer. The timer is going to be once more is a private variable, so we need to choose player private variable, and we are going to choose player time. Now we are going to create a new one, and it's going to be just to show the timer panel to the players. The timer once more is going to be a private, so you're going to find it in function, player private variable, the player lap time. That's going to be shown to all the players. And the title is going to be first lap time. Okay? Remember that you can concatenate the strings to give a nicer look. And we are going to also start this timer, okay? Round timer, we are going to choose the timer. Remember once more function, player, private variable, and we are going to choose the player lap time. And yeah, with this we are going to start this. So now, moving back to this one, okay, so we are going to move this one a little bit more or rearrange because we need to execute after we stop the timer. Okay, also we are going to rearrange this one. And this is going to be shown to all the players, okay? That's something that I forgot. Select, okay, it's only allow me to show it to one player, okay? Okay, that's why player. But there was a way to do it and I don't remember how. Okay. Okay, we are going to leave this for later. For now, we are going to play with the chat info, okay? So give me a second here. So we have to say player ready, okay? Now we are going to wait, and to wait, the only thing that you have to tell is the game to wait. So hit here on wait time. On wait time, we are going to wait 1 second, and we are just going to repeat the same thing. Also remember to place a sound for it, okay? So sound is going to be any sound that you want it. So we are going to turn on an effect on position. The position is going to be the starting point. So remember that we have here is the first point. The sound effect, you can choose on mark, on others. On the first like 3 is going to be a good sound, so choose the third one. The playback is going to be false. We are going to rearrange the waiting one. And what we are going to do is just copy these 2 after we wait 1 second. So just copy and paste. Also do it for the sound, copy and paste on the same trigger, and we are going to adjust. Now we are going to choose the number 3. Okay, it's going to be in 3. All right, and the sound is going to be a different sound. This time we are going to choose the next one that is going to be the second sound. That is a sound like when you start the game that gives you like 3, 2, 1. It's going to be just the same, okay? Now just copy the wait trigger here with that. Oh, sorry, I copied in the wrong position. So let's move it again to this one. Okay, so now we are waiting another second and we are going to execute the next part. So it's going to be copy again, paste again, copy again, and paste again, and copy again the waiting, just to be sure. And we left the sound, okay? The sound is going to be also good here. We are going to move this one too a little bit. Just give me a second. Rearrange, and we are going to place it just over, okay? And for this one, for the one that we just create, we are going to change this number for the number 2. And this one is going to be just have a different sound. So once more, template library options, we are going to select the first one that is going to be another counting. And we are going to just do the same for the others, okay? And on here as an example, we are going to just copy and paste again. And what we are going to do, or for those that didn't notice, it's that actually it's going to create a countdown before starting the map, okay? And yeah, let me show you now. We are going to check until this point if everything is working fine. Remember that sometimes you do some mistakes on triggers and also in the scripting. That's very normal. So we want to be sure that actually it's going to work, okay? And we are going to do this sound. So remember this variable that is going to be game running. We need to change that, okay? So for this one is only can be executed only if that variable is equals to 0. So with that, we are going to avoid to the game to repeat it. And how we are going to do it? First, we are going to select on here. We are going to add a new condition, the numerical comparison. That's going to be game running. Remember that game running is going to have only one n. It's equals to 0. And on here, we are going to add a new action, and it's going to be a sign. There's going to be a value, and what we are going to do is to change that specific one to the number 0, okay? To the number 1, okay, sorry. With the number 1, we are going to be sure that the map is not going to repeat everything once over. So we are going to rearrange this, and this needs to be the first variable, okay? Just to let you know. So we are going to move everything up, 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 up a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. We almost over. We just want to have it on the top. Okay, we almost, and yeah, that's it. Okay, I think I found what will be the problem. We're going to change those 3 for now, and we're going to remove this condition, and let's see if this thing works. All right, guys, so remember, if you have some questions, remember that this is the last class. Also remember that I will be able to answer you a little bit more in just by accessing the official Discord group. Okay, guys, this time it works.